This is a Leaders in Learning special, sponsored by CapEd Credit Union.
Thanks for joining us for this Leaders in Learning special. I'm Sarah Jacobson. Great leaders are always looking for ways to motivate and inspire others. Idaho has many of these innovators right in our schools. Teachers and administrators are taking learning to the next level. Over the next half hour, CBS 2 is going to show you how they're making a difference in our schools now and for future generations. For the last 2 years, CBS 2 and CapEd Credit Union have been highlighting these educators in our weekly Leaders in Learning series. Every week, there's something new to share, from STEM programs to service projects to hands-on learning opportunities outside of the classroom. Many of these projects wouldn't be possible without CapEd's support.
We've always had a tradition of supporting quality education in the community, and this is just our latest endeavor. It's called the Get Give program, where we get the member who gets a new checking account gets $100 and has an opportunity to give $100 to a school, to an area that they are passionate about in the school. And so we've reached a milestone of $100,000 over the past 18 months when the program started to over 270 schools.
CBS 2's Abigail Taylor shows us how CapEd is making sure local teachers have the tools they need to be successful.
From the outside, it may look like just a credit union, but on the inside, there's a greater purpose at work.
Here on the background, we have the sign that we have in every one of our branch locations that says, "Make your money matter." And in this case, it's supporting education, specifically the teacher and the students that who they're working with.
This commitment goes beyond words on a wall.
Really? It's 1 to 1 billion.
Whoa. It's coming to life in classrooms throughout our community. Just this year, they invested more than $100,000 directly into education, supporting projects like a sign language club at Nampa High School, thermal imagers for biology students, and books that display the same diversity as the students at this Boise Elementary see in themselves.
Just with CapEd's donation alone, it got funded right away. So it was really awesome. It's a great resource for teachers.
There are several ways CapEd supports teachers, one being through its Get $100 and Give $100 program.
So in this case, the individual receives $100 or gets $100 and then has an opportunity to give $100 to the education community, and specifically the school and program of their choice.
Any money that isn't assigned to a specific school or teacher goes into CapEd's We Love Teachers program, supporting local projects in partnership with DonorsChoose.org. Another big way teachers in our state are being supported is through the Idaho CapEd Foundation. Here, teachers can apply for grants of up to $750, and 8 grants are given out each month between September and March. From art to science and everything in between, teachers have great ideas, and they know what's best for their classroom. And with the help of the credit union's own patrons, CapEd is able to make sure those visions become a reality. In Meridian, Abigail Taylor, CBS 2 News.
CapEd recently presented the Boise School District with a check for nearly $13,000. That money came from their Get $100, Give $100 program.
Teachers actually spend a lot of money out of their own pockets on their classrooms, so buying supplies or needed materials that they dip into their pockets for, this allows them some money so they don't have to do that.
Cameras take off 5 pounds, right?
Jennifer Henderson is the executive director of the Boise Schools Foundation. She says the money also allows schools and teachers to go out and get extra things for their students, like throwing class parties, field trips, or buying special books and items. The check to the Boise School District is just one part of what's been given to area schools through CapEd's Get Give program. The program has also benefited the Nampa and West Ada school districts.
We just deeply appreciate the sincerity in which CapEd consistently, through their behavior and their words, support education, and particularly the partnership we have with this branch and the Nampa School District.
What it has allowed teachers and principals and program leaders to do is to provide extra school supplies, art supplies, things that aren't covered by the district funds. So they're getting supplemental funding that allows them to do more, teach more, and assist our kids in getting a better education.
CBS 2 News was there as CapEd recently celebrated its $100,000 milestone at its Nampa branch on 12th Avenue.
We love partnering up with the schools. CapEd is all about education. Membership supports education. And so we just love being able to just get in our communities, not necessarily just Nampa. I mean, we're very involved in our other locations that we're at. But it's just really great that I'm in Nampa and I get to celebrate with all my Nampa folks.
And we'd like to take a moment to congratulate CapEd on receiving the Members on Main Street Award at the Northwest Credit Union Association Max Convention in Spokane. The award recognizes CapEd for helping to strengthen our community with its Get $100, Give $100 program. And now we're going to introduce you to Idaho's innovators in education. In Meridian, students at Lewis and Clark Middle School are finding that hand tools are something that can build essential skills. Here's how one educator is using a box of tools to inspire problem solving and creative thinking.
I want them to be able to learn how to use everything we have access to in class and then take it out of our classroom and apply it to their own lives. I don't want them to have to depend on any one individual. I want them to be independent.
That should do it.
For Mrs. Meisner's 7th grade pre-engineering class, hands-on learning takes on a new meaning. Pairing technology and basic hand tools to teach problem solving, creative thinking, and cooperation. With 12 different hand tool stations, students learn how to identify each tool and its use.
Ceramic cutters, they're the angle meter.
I want them to make that connection between, okay, this is a tool I'm going to be using in class, and this is what it looks like, and this is how I'm going to be able to apply it either in our classroom environment or at home.
Students not only learn how to identify and use the tool, but they also record a demonstration of how that tool works at each station using iPads.
We're a paperless environment as much as possible. So instead of the kids having a paper that says, yes, they were able to do this, I have them demonstrate via Flipgrid. Today, I actually ran through my lesson. I had all of the tools out that I wanted them to demonstrate.
Mrs. Meisner first shows the students how to use the tool. And she tells me that safety is always first. Then they get to work.
Based off of our curriculum, we do the design and modeling. And so based off of design and modeling, they have to create something. It's not just me talking to them. I want to see what they can do. So that application, that demonstration is that higher order of thinking where I want the kids to be. It prepares them for high school and college and life in general.
To get the tools for her classroom, Mrs. Meisner applied for a grant through Donors Choose, a website where community members can help pay for classroom projects just like this.
I want the kids to have access to every class. We are losing so many of our elective classes because of core classes, and the focus has been on the numbers. It's not always just about the numbers, it's about our students. And so my kids amaze me. They can pick up an item, not know how to use it, and they're proficient at using it. And then they share how to use that with others. I'm proud. They make my heart happy, and so they're the reason why I want to continue coming every year.
Finding Legos can teach you a lot more than just how to use your imagination. One teacher is using the blocks to teach foundational lessons.
Kindergartners come to school, some of them can't hold a pencil, some have never been away from home, and I knew that Legos would be something to ease them into it.
4, 5, 6, 7. So I got all of my white squares.
I knew that they were going to need some time that wasn't just reading, writing, and arithmetic. They needed some hands-on work to do.
And for Mrs. Gann's kindergarten class at Van Buren Elementary, the building blocks to success are yellow, blue, red, and green.
And the Legos really are engaging. It gives them fine motor skills, spatial awareness. And spatial awareness, I've heard that it actually is more of an indicator for mathematical competency than knowing your facts. And I thought, well, Legos are a lot more fun than knowing that 3 + 3 is 6. So that was really the inspiration behind it.
Something Mrs. Gann says will help build a strong foundation for these young learners as they progress.
It's really important to have manipulatives for the kids to work, to be able to take things apart, put things together. They needed some hands-on work to do. There was enough Legos that we had 3 different activities going on, actually 4.
One table with free play, one table building numbers, the other building with small Legos, and last but not least, large Legos.
They're not going to get bored with it because there'll be different activities they can do with it.
And Mrs. Gann says with an all-day kindergarten class, this is exactly the type of hands-on learning they need.
It takes about 20 to 40 repetitions to learn something when you're having fun. Obviously, we've played for Legos just now for a half an hour or more, and they stayed engaged the whole time.
Engagement that will slowly but surely build into a whole new world of learning, block by block.
Doctors, astronauts, and superheroes? For many preschoolers, it's more than just playing dress up. Abigail Taylor shows us how a Boise teacher uses the power of play to help her special education students find their voice.
Meet Brinley.
I'm a real fighter.
Or should I say, Captain Brinley. She and her classmates at Desert Sage Elementary are bringing all kinds of characters to life, using costumes bought through a grant from DonorsChoose.org and CapEd's Get $100 and Give $100 program. Their teacher, Mrs. Yarnell, says playing dress up, particularly for her students who have special needs, is a way to teach important skills like communication and compromise.
It's so great to see those skills naturally demonstrated by the students throughout their play. It's not that, we have to stop and say, oh, that really hurts so-and-so's feelings. It's they're noticing and recognizing it themselves and maybe offering to take off their costume to let a friend have it. Or when they're done, making sure they go find that friend to say, I'm done, it's your turn now. Having them learn those skills and innately just demonstrate them is really heartwarming.
I don't have a hat.
A real dilemma.
So I need a hat so I can keep me safe here.
Just a few moments later,
wait, who gave me that hat?
A hero saves the day.
Who did that say? I did. Oh, P.Y., thank you.
Even when the costumes come off, the lesson remains. Characteristics that go far beyond a pretend character. In Boise, Abigail Taylor, CBS 2 News.
Some second graders in Nampa are learning that math doesn't have to be done by the book. Their teacher is making arithmetic fun for them using games.
Good morning.
Good morning, Eva. How are you?
I have never been a math person ever in my life. I hated it growing up, and I did not want my students to feel that way.
So Mrs. Ulibarri decided to think outside of the box when it came to teaching math to her second grade class at Endeavor Elementary.
I wanted to make it more fun and exciting and get them really involved in it.
Every morning, students start out slow, playing numerical games.
5, which way do you want to go?
And then transitioning into the lesson.
And now they love it.
Using simple tools like personal whiteboards and board games, helping students learn how to take simple addition and subtraction and work together as a team.
They don't know they're learning for most of it. They're adding, they're subtracting, they are learning spatial reasoning, and they don't even realize that they're doing it.
All by just playing games, like this one, where they use building blocks and math to create a work of art all their own. This not only makes them think outside of the textbook, but Ulibarri tells me it's speed that they're working on.
They are just learning addition and subtraction right now to kind of refresh their brains. So it's kind of getting them quicker. A lot of them are still counting on their fingers, trying to get to 10, and we're trying to get away from that. So we're trying to give them opportunities to just do it in their head quick, so that when we move up to double and triple digit numbers, they don't have to sit there and count on their fingers for 10, 15 minutes on a problem.
To get the games for their classroom, Mrs. Ulibarri applied for a grant through Donors Choose. a website where community members can help pay for classroom projects just like this.
And we work through it together. They learn that it's okay to be wrong. We can still learn from it. And then if somebody's trying to help you, they're not doing it to be mean, and we're just trying to come to the correct answer together.
Once again, every week, CapEd sponsors a Leaders in Learning segment where we highlight students, teachers, or schools in the Treasure Valley who are making a positive impact on education in our community. If you know of something we should feature, send an email to leadersinlearning@kboi2.com. You could see it right here on the air. We'll be right back.
This is a Leaders in Learning special, sponsored by CapEd Credit Union.
Welcome back to our Leaders in Learning special. Fifth graders in CUNA are learning about the solar system. Their teacher is using a creative approach to bring their out-of-the-world assignment down to earth.
I see their excitement, I see their engagement. They're all talking about the topic, and it just makes learning more fun. They have been learning about the solar system tool. This is what you're going to use to sketch with, okay? And now we're at the end of our unit, and instead of taking a unit test, we are making prints so that they can show what they've learned.
Creative, cumulative, and authentic. These are always Miss Jensen describes her lesson using printmaking. She tells me it can provide competency and challenge these fifth graders to think outside of the box.
Afterwards, they'll write a reflection about how their print represents what they've learned.
Miss Jensen tells me that this assessment is a unique, interactive approach to standardized learning.
Usually when we assess what students have learned, we use tests, either their standardized tests, end of the unit test, which can provide a lot of beneficial information, but it's not all inclusive. It doesn't represent all learners.
She tells me that printmaking gives all of her learners a chance to show their skill and prove their competency.
Doing things like printmaking is more of an authentic way of showing what students learned, and they can all feel successful despite the disability, the language barrier, despite needing a challenge. They can all feel like, wow, I've actually learned something.
From the cycle of a star to the phases of the moon, each student uses research and sources to back up their art.
I did the sun and the moon.
Demonstrating what they've learned.
Science is one of my favorite subjects. So that's the daytime. This is the nighttime. Constellation. I only put 2 constellations, Ursa Major and Ursa Minor, which are the Big and Little Dipper.
In order to get these supplies for her classroom, Miss Jensen applied for a classroom grant through Donors Choose, a website where community members can help pay for classroom projects just like this.
And I think that's such a great opportunity, because if it wasn't for CapEd, if it wasn't for Donors Choose, we wouldn't have been able to do something like this in the classroom.
Now to a small school with big opportunity. Abigail Taylor shows us how a Marsing elementary teacher is on a mission to make sure his students aren't falling behind.
In a rural town like Marsing, things are just a little bit calmer, happening at a slower pace. But don't think for a second students here are behind the times. Students at this little school are getting their hands on some big technology.
Like, some schools don't really even have tech. Like, there used to not even be tech, and then they would just have to go to like one schoolhouses, and it's like boring.
John Barenberg has been teaching here for 30 years. And while the technology has changed over time, his mindset hasn't.
It's so different. Actually, when I started here, believe it or not, I started out using Commodore 64 computers. And I would go and get to these stores and get public domain software like Oregon Trail and put on it. So even back 30-some years ago, I was trying to get tech going with kids. So by the time they're out in the workforce, they know about using computers and they understand VR, and they're ready to tackle the world and whatever it brings.
And Mr. Barenberg knows that when it comes to learning, the magic happens when students are just having fun.
It's like a toys. It's just toys that you're playing around with, but you're learning stuff in your head. You just think it's a toy outside your mind.
In Marsing, Abigail Taylor, CBS 2 News.
In Nampa, one fourth grade teacher is using picture books to teach her students that there's a lot more to books and reading than just words on a page, but a place for your imagination to soar.
Percy was a pug and Petunia was a pig. Even so, they love doing many of the same things.
I really like to focus on reading in my classroom a lot and making sure kids know that they can always find a book that they like and that they can read in the classroom.
There's a book for everyone in Miss Crisp's fourth grade class at Central Elementary School in Nampa. Miss Crisp says that there's a lesson inside each one of these books. Her goal, to keep students engaged and curious and not judge a book by its cover.
So there's so many lessons that you can do with picture books instead of doing like boring worksheets all the time. So we've been doing inferences a lot lately. So we're practicing with picture books, writing inferences, talking about inferences, and then I just tied in character traits.
Miss Crisp tells me that while character traits is a standard they'll explore later on in the year, it's getting her students familiar with the concept, being able to identify them first in these picture books and then out in the real world.
I can find picture books to support every single reading standard or every standard that we do. So like when they come to me, it's not necessarily them learning how to read, but it's them learning about reading and why it's important and why they should love it and it becomes a part of their life. And them being invested with picture books helps with them knowing that reading actually has a purpose and that it can actually be fun.
In order to get these books for her classroom, Miss Crisp applied for a classroom grant through Donors Choose, a website where community members can help pay for classroom projects just like this.
When they're on their own reading and it's not a teacher explaining everything, there's a whole lot that's said that isn't necessarily explicitly said in the text, and they need to learn what that actually means and how they can do that themselves. Learning about character traits, that helps them with forming their own opinions about characters and how they can use that in their own life as well. So it not only helps with the reading but assignments in the future, and also character traits. If you're looking for character traits in certain people, what character traits do I want in myself? And they can draw that out of the text and then use it as an example.
For Leaders in Learning, I'm Sarah Jacobson.
Now to a new perspective on teaching. CBS 2's Abigail Taylor shows us how a Treasure Valley teacher is putting learning into the hands of students.
I can spoon feed somebody stuff all day and they can go through the instructions, but are they able to apply it?
That's the question Caleb Wolford says he began to ask himself a few years into being a teacher, wondering if he was doing his students justice, standing in front of the classroom instructing, or if there was a way he could make a bigger impact, make them leaders of their own learning.
A lot of other teachers, they might just like show you how it's done, and then that's the way that you have to do it. But with Mr. Wolford, it's like you can be a lot more creative and free with your ideas and how you solve the problem.
From the outside, it looks like any other classroom, but Mr. Wolford is unlike most teachers.
He talks to everyone, he walks around, he communicates with all of his students while teaching.
He doesn't assign work to take home. The only way students have homework is if they didn't finish in the time they were given during class.
We have 2 days, so don't rush to this. If we need some more time tomorrow, that's fine.
Mr. Wolford gives basic instructions, but lets his students figure out most of it on their own. He gives extra help to the kids who need it and loosens the reins on the kids who don't.
And that's kind of how teaching should be. Let those ones that are getting it kind of work themselves and kind of do the advanced stuff next, and then work with the ones that need help, because it lets them catch up, because they don't see that they're behind, they see that they're right there with everybody else.
Sometimes the students don't get to the answer right away, but therein lies the purpose of the lesson.
Now I can know that I can like find my own way and my own solutions to the problems.
In Meridian, Abigail Taylor, CBS 2 News.
Well, thank you for joining us for this Leaders in Learning special. To see more of our stories from this series, go to idahonews.com. And if you know someone who's making a positive impact on education, send an email to leadersinlearning@kboi2.com. You could see them featured right here in our weekly Leaders in Learning segment, sponsored by CapEd Credit Union. Thanks for watching.